So, Michael, some very sad movie news this week. Ray Liotta died. I'm sure you saw, didn't you?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Goodfellas actor dies aged 67 as he shoots new film in Caribbean. And it is sad because, of course, his performance in Goodfellas was incredible. And one of the greatest movies ever, one of the greatest performances ever. And as a tribute to him, I would like you to do an impression of him yelling Karen. If you can imagine him doing that, I want you to try and recreate that for us, please, Michael.
Yeah, okay.
Coked out of his mind.
Yeah. All right. I don't want to do it too loud because obviously let's not be obnoxious about this. But so I'm just trying to think about how it would sound like. Okay, I'm just trying to get all right. So Karen, Karen,
and then the afterwards. Yeah, there we go.
What did you do? Why did you flush it down the toilet? I needed that. I needed that.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah, he was whacked by natural causes.
He was whacked by natural causes, sadly, in the Caribbean. Obviously he's dead, but more importantly, I saw the news on Twitter 2 minutes after it broke. I think Deadline Hollywood reported it first, I think. And yeah, I one of those times where you just update on Twitter and it comes up to the nearest tweet or the last tweet, and that was it. Ray Liotta, 1 minute ago. Breaking news, Ray Liotta dead. So
wow,
I knew before everyone else.
Far more significant than somebody dying. The fact that you knew about it slightly sooner than other people. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out in the near and distant past. We give them a couple of watches and evaluate them beyond first impressions. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke. And this week we are celebrating the 40-year anniversary. I always like when you got a 40-year anniversary because it just puts into perspective how long ago the 80s were. And the 40-year anniversary we're doing is of the film E.T., the Extraterrestrial. So, Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about E.T., the Extraterrestrial?
Yeah, it's interesting that that's the name of
the full title, movie. Yeah. Because to be honest, I think I did just think of it as being called E.T., but...
So did I. For the longest time, I thought it just was E.T.
Yeah, in fact, actually, you know what? Here's a crazy fact. I used to think that the first time I saw this film, I thought the reason he was called E.T. was because it was the first and last letter of Elliot's name. That's why I thought they called him E.T.
Okay, that's interesting because actually that we will talk about that because that is important.
Oh wow! Maybe so. Are you saying that I was actually just having an E.T. supernatural style brain power?
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it's a coincidence. Basically.
Oh, cool. Yeah. Well done, me then.
It's I think there's a reason why the main character, like you say, his first name starts with E and ends in T. So yeah. So anyway, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Or simply E.T. So, yeah. We will refer to this movie as E.T., right?
No, I will refer to it by its full name every single time.
Yeah. It's a 1982 American science fiction film produced and directed by Steven Spielberg and written by Melissa Matheson. Did you know that, Michael? It was written by a woman.
Whoa, that's crazy. That probably explains why nobody solves a problem by shooting anybody and compassion wins out in the end. Because there's no way a dirty patriarchal man would come up with that idea.
This movie was produced by somebody who gets a lot of flack recently, and I think deserved flack. The showrunner for Star Wars, I think that's her.
Oh, Kathleen Kennedy.
Title. Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy. I don't know what her official title is.
Executive producer?
She's the current president of Lucasfilm.
Oh, so, I see.
There you go. And she founded the production company Amblin Entertainment with Steven Spielberg in 1981.
Yeah, well, they were certainly ambling their way through those Star Wars sequels. Yes, no plan at all.
It's incredible. Someone who was responsible for producing this movie, because Amblin Entertainment produced this movie. Yeah. She, of course, was integral, with creating E.T. Then can go produce stuff like The Rise of Skywalker. You go from movie magic to just a complete opposite.
To movie tragic.
Movie tragic, yeah, that was right. It was right there. Well done. So the movie stars Dee Wallace, Henry Thomas, Peter Coyote, Robert McNaughton, and Drew Barrymore. Did you know that, Michael?
No, I didn't actually.
The movie was released on May the 26th, 1982 at the Cannes Film Festival, which of course is almost 40 years. Cannes Film Festival is going on right now. And which one? What was it? A Deadly Triangle or something won the Palme d'Or, whatever, however it's pronounced. Yeah, but anyway, so it was released on June the 11th, 1982 in the United States. That's when it got its proper release. So, Michael, can you guess the budget for E.T.?
It's hard to say. I think I'm going to go for 10.4 million.
10.5.
Oh, no, I'm terrible.
So you didn't get it right.
I know, yeah. I feel like a complete failure.
Yeah. So I accidentally... I'll tell you why I accidentally...
Yeah, and the worst thing is, I think I easily could have overshot that. Like, I feel like I could have been, like, 25 or something. I don't know.
Why would this be 25 million?
I don't know.
Why?
I mean, to be honest, like, I'm trying to imagine what I would have... I didn't even think about it, and I'm trying to think what I would have thought of. My mind is very unpredictable, even to me, when it comes to these budget things, so I'm not sure what I would have thought of.
So now, Michael, can you guess the box office for E.T.?
Right. Now, as far as I know, this film was quite possibly the highest grossing film of all time for a period, obviously, until it was then supplanted by another film. I might be wrong about that.
That's how it does work.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I might be wrong about that, but even if I am wrong about that, I'm pretty sure that it at least got really high up there. Now, that does create a question of how high is really high up there. Obviously, this was way before like films broke the billion. I'm assuming this was after films broke like 500 million. I would kind of assume like if you had like the biggest box office film of all time in the 80s, it would have got at least 500 million.
Okay, well, do you know what? When E.T. was released, there was a movie which was the highest grossing
Star Wars,
of all
presumably?
time. Yes.
Okay, yeah. And I don't know how much that made, but would again. I mean, so basically, I think it's over 500 million. Obviously, it's not going to be as high as a billion. I guess maybe like it made 650 million.
You know what? Good guess, Michael. You're a bit far off, but it's a good guess because I didn't know that you knew it was the highest grossing movie of all time.
No.
Which it was. It beat Star Wars. Do you know which movie supplanted it? Or surpassed it?
Would it have been as late as the Titanic, or was there another film that beat it?
No, beforehand. We went through this, actually, I think.
Yeah, we probably did. Was it
the first movie to break $1 billion?
Was it another James Cameron film, though, or am I completely...
No.
First movie to break $1 billion, eh?
It was another...
Was it another sci-fi thing from old Steven? I was thinking it was like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. No. Jurassic Park. I'm so proud of myself for eventually getting it. I realised what it would be.
She's such a... Like,
I was thinking to myself, like, what was like an early 90s or late 80s Steven Spielberg thing? And then I remembered he did that film.
Like, have you done a video essay on Jurassic Park?
I have. That's funny.
Great. So, yeah, but anyway, I'll tell you what the box office was for E.T. the Extraterrestrial. It was 792 million.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's pretty impressive, right?
That's a lot of money.
From a budget of 10 million, 792.
Yeah. And it just goes to show why it is that studios don't really care about like original film ideas anymore, and everything needs to be part of a franchise. Because, obviously, otherwise they just wouldn't make any money.
Yeah, I know. It is crazy. Like, you consider all the movies around it, E.T., like Star Wars and Jurassic Park.
Oh my god, we're going to get E.T. too.
Well, that's the thing. I'm thinking, like, they've all been turned into franchises. Like,
the E.T. cinematic universe.
Yes, Titanic hasn't because it's based on a historical event, so you can't really do a sequel to that. But, yeah, certainly Avatar as well, like Avengers, like all these movies which are, fiction, which aren't based on historical events. They, get, they get sequels and franchises. This, not one. Not one other, sequel or like, anything. Just nothing. Just E.T. Just this 1982 movie, E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Yes. That's it. Nothing else. But anyway, Michael, let's get into this movie. Did you like it?
I did like it. I thought this film was... I mean, it's kind of like, obviously, it's, I guess what they call in the business a classic. A film that, like, you kind of, like, you have to have seen it just because it's so, like, part of the culture. It's just one of those films you can't get away with being like, oh yeah, I've just never seen E.T. before. Now, if you haven't seen E.T., there's not going to be that many films that should be higher on your watch list. Having said that, it's not as if it's like an incredibly like fantastic film. It's good. It's very kind of emotionally resonant, and I think that's probably the main thing it has going for it. like more than anything else. Like my main takeaway from it was like, oh yeah, this is really playing up the emotional aspect, which, you know, it does well. So therefore that makes it good. Yeah, it's a good film. Well done.
Yeah, I don't think I'm as high on it as you, because I think it has some great movie magic in it. You know what I mean by movie magic? It's like movie magic, you know, like, oh, this is why you go to see the movies.
Yeah.
This is when, you know, and Spielberg, you know, why he's the master, why he's had so much success over the decades. It's like he can extract emotion out of you. You know, he knows what buttons to press. He knows exactly how to construct a great scene, which really elicits some sort of emotion from you. But yeah, this is, of course, a movie which is 40 years old, of course, and there are some issues. And I won't say it's as bad as Grease, which is another quote unquote classic, which is just a god awful movie.
Yeah.
That it's only people only would say it's good nowadays because they remember growing up with it. This isn't that bad.
And
sorry,
Grease is the word. It's the word. That's a good song.
Yeah, it's got good songs in it, I guess. Yeah, but yeah, the actual movie isn't good. But this movie, again, it's a lot of it is just like kind of shit. And I'm sorry to be that harsh in it, but a lot of it is just like very poorly done and not very well executed. But the big moments are executed so well. It's got that movie magic, and of course, at the ending is just the best, maybe the best ending in cinematic history.
Yeah,
like it is true how everything comes together, and E.T., you know, saying, what does he say to Elliot again?
I'll be right here.
I'll be right there.
I don't know, I'm giving like a weird voice. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I mean, so the thing is, actually, I'll just say in a little bit in anticipation of some criticism, I thought, like, I had some things about like the pacing I thought were a bit weird. Or like
yes, that is the issue.
Yeah, good.
That is the issue. That's why I say a lot of it is shit, because I was sitting through watching a lot of this movie, and like the actual meat of it, it's like, God, it's very slow.
Yeah, well, like, see, like something, and again, I don't want to give that. Like, I was thinking it was like slow, and then suddenly, like, I was like, oh wait, we're already at this point. Like, it kind of felt like nothing happened, and yet somehow the plot was still progressing in a really weird way.
Yeah, honestly, like, this movie is quite long, actually. It's 1 hour, 50 minutes. And I say quite long, that's not that long a movie, but when I look up how long these movies are, you know, just to see the time, and I'm like, oh, this is actually 1 hour 50. This is...
for a family film, that's quite long, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I say it's actually 1 hour 54 minutes, but... You know what I mean with it actually goes up to 1 hour 50 before it hits the credits. And yeah, you can easily cut like 15 minutes off this.
Yeah.
Easily. I think maybe we'll be a bit more conservative and go 10, but you can easily cut 10 minutes off it, and obviously it's still, you know, it's still basically a 100-minute movie, and it works. I think it'd work a lot better. But yeah, certainly there are a lot of scenes which just really drag on and just don't really aren't well done, I will say, and that is the pacing, you know. But there are again the moments that Spielberg really
the big moments.
Focus. Yeah, the big moments. I mean, they're great, obviously, and the ending is just fantastic. Like the ending of the movie is incredible. Like that's the thing. I think it really is. You know that picture of a donkey.
Yes.
And it's like it gets worse as.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that meme.
Yeah, I got you.
It's like it's the opposite. It really is. It gets so good at the end. Like the last 20 minutes are great, and just the rest of the movie, just it doesn't need to be as long.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something like this. I guess it's kind of like I think like a kind of analogy I'm thinking of is like Doctor Who, where it's like the majority of it is very, very bad. But there are like, and you know, I don't watch it anymore for the reason the majority of it is bad. But like every now and then you'll get like a really good episode, or like an episode that's really clever or like really interesting. It's kind of like, and like I guess you could say like a lot of episodic TV shows, it's like they have really good moments in them, but you'd kind of be like, if you were actually sat there watching the whole thing, you'd be like, oh, a lot of this isn't that great. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We review the whole movie, we just don't review the big moments. I mean, we will talk about them obviously, but you know, you're sitting through like when fucking what was I like? Oh, what the fuck are they?
Is it like the frog thing? Because like
the frog thing, it's just that whole not specifically the frog stuff, just that whole middle part of the movie. Just like feels like nothing really happens.
Yeah, it is really weird.
Well, stuff does happen. It's just like it's just so slow, and it just doesn't need to be so slow. And again, I'm not, you know, if you've heard what I've had to say about other movies, I don't mind slow-paced movies. Like I'm fine with it. I like slow movies. I think more than the average person. It's just this didn't need to be so slow.
Yeah, like I think it's obviously it's not like it could be slow, but it kind of feels like it's not really doing anything with its slowness.
Full time, Michael. Real Madrid have beaten Liverpool. Hala Madrid! Hala Madrid!
I'm
Hala
sure
Madrid!
that our podcast listeners already appreciate that up-to-date information, since this is a football podcast after all.
But yeah, we're back from Liverpool losing to Real Madrid. Hala Madrid, once again. Back to fucking E.T., which... yeah, what a transition. But so, E.T., Michael, any nitpicks?
Yeah, I have 3. Mostly because I was really
I-
enjoying the fact that, like, it's been so long since we've done a film we can properly nitpick. You know?
I've got one.
Okay.
I've got one. So,
Oh, and also I have
there's-
one lit pick.
Okay, good. So there isn't a single government scientist or official at the spot where E.T. is getting beamed up from.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
Because I think he gets beamed up near where his device is, or if it's not there, it's where the ship was before. Of course, there should be. But yeah, go on, Michael.
Right,
Tell me what yours.
First of all, they're just not going to eat the pizza at all, huh? So Elliot like drops the pizza, but it's still obviously in the box, and like, okay, fine, the toppings maybe got like mushed up or something, but it's still food. It's still pizza. And I just bring this up because one time I actually dropped a pizza on the floor, like on the road, and when I got it from like a pizza place, and I dropped it in the street, and like even like some of the slices spilled out, and to be honest, I just like pulled the whole pizza like back into the thing and still took it home just to be like, well, let me see how much of this is salvageable. And I don't like the wasting food attitude of just being like, oh, it's been dropped, it's ruined irreparably. No, you can salvage it. Next would be E.T. would not be able to see out of the ghost outfit. You can so obviously like see how the isolets for the ghost outfit, like, you know, the bed sheet, are like hanging completely unevenly and nowhere where his actual eyes are, and yet then it cuts to his point of view and you can just see like perfectly out of them, which is obviously silly. And also, you would get in like I would assume, see, everyone says the 80s was a very permissive time, but you would think you'd get in like so much trouble if your kid was drunk. Like, I like how like the kid being drunk in class is treated as like, just like, oh, you gotta come collect him, and she's like, oh man, he's drunk. And it's like, no, that would involve like a serious sit down with the teachers. Like, that should have been, you know, like if it were to not just be like a throwaway line, should have been like a major.
It's the 80s.
I know, yeah, that's it. Yeah, like it wouldn't even matter if he was doing cocaine. And the lit pick, and I'm wondering if you were going to mention this, is the fact that at least in the version I watched, they had guns. The policemen who were waiting for E.T.
What do you mean in the version you watched?
Well, so apparently, and maybe you don't know this, and therefore I'm going to bring it up.
I do know this. So do you know this?
Yeah. So like they were replaced with walkie-talkies. I don't know what it is, in like in the TV edit they were replaced with walkie-talkies.
It's in the 20th anniversary special.
Oh, okay. But yeah, so yeah, basically I was thinking to myself, oh, remembering now, it's going to, they're going to have walkie-talkies? And no, they had guns. And that's good, because because obviously those police would have been able to stop a school shooter.
Okay. That you know what, you might be onto something there, Michael. It's a classic movie. It's got that movie magic. You know, it was the highest grossing movie ever, and again, it wasn't really expected. We're going to go into that, like how this movie came to be, because it is very interesting. So, after his parents' divorce in 1960, Spielberg filled the void with an imaginary alien companion he later recalled as a friend who could be the brother he never had and a father he didn't feel he had anymore. In 1978, he announced. I know, right? In 1978, he announced he would shoot a film entitled Growing Up, which he would film in 4 weeks. However, the project was set aside, but the concept of making a small, also biographical film about childhood would stay with him. He also thought about a follow-up to Close Encounters of the Third Kind and began to develop a darker project he had planned with John Sayles called Night Skies, in which malevolent aliens terrorize a family. Filming Raiders of the Lost Ark, so basically he had aliens on his mind.
Yes.
So filming Raiders of the Lost Ark in Tunisia caused a sense of loneliness in Spielberg. Far from his family and friends, made memories of his childhood creation resurface. He told screenwriter Melissa Matheson about Night Skies and developed a subplot from the failed project in which Buddy, the only friendly alien, befriends an autistic child. Buddy's abandonment on Earth in the script's final scene inspires the concept of E.T. Matheson wrote a first draft titled E.T. and Me in 8 weeks.
Wow.
Because, of course, there was a rip-off version called Mac and Me.
Oh, yes.
And this is...
I forgot about Mac and Me.
Fucking Mac and Me. So they copied a lot of things from E.T. and also literally the name as well, because the original title was E.T. and Me. Yes, which Spielberg considered perfect. The script went through 2 more drafts. The chase sequence was also created, and he also suggested having the scene where E.T. got drunk.
Oh wow!
as well.
Tell you what,
Yes.
like nowadays, when you got like a Hollywood producer being like, or like Hollywood director, anybody in Hollywood being like, what if there was a kid and we got them drunk? I'm like, okay, what are you planning on doing? Why would you want the kid to be drunk? Hey, Stephen.
Well, to be fair, in the early '80s, that was just that's maybe how it got through, because
Yeah,
that was
exactly.
just what Hollywood producers like to do. I don't know why they like to get kids drunk, but they did for some reason.
Oh.
So in early summer 1981, while Raiders of the Lost Ark was being promoted, Columbia Pictures met with Spielberg to discuss the script. However, Martin Atanowski, the head of Columbia Pictures marketing and research, concluded that it had a limited commercial potential, believing that it would appeal to mostly young children. Well, it did, but there's a young child in all of
Wow,
us.
Luke. That's.
Now
a
we've got to
line.
stop with the paedophile jokes, right? Come on,
Okay.
we've got to stop. We've got to stop,
Yeah.
right? Because we are going to talk about childhood and
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay.
being a child a lot in this movie, so we've got to start with the pedo jokes, right? But that's the thing, yeah. There's a child in every adult, in every single adult, right up there,
Yes.
and it would make sense, therefore, that this would not just have an appeal to children, but also a wider audience, which of course is what happened. John Veitch, or Veitch, how you pronounce it, president of the Studio Worldwide Productions at Columbia, felt the script was not good or scary enough to draw enough crowd. On the advice of Atanowski and Veitch, Columbia CEO Frank Price passed on the project, and Spielberg approached the more receptive Sid Sheinberg, president of the MCA, then the parents of Universal Studios. So they have it. So they went from Columbia to Universal Studios.
Wow.
Spielberg told Sheinberg to acquire the E.T. script from Columbia, which he did for $1 million, and struck a deal with Price in which Columbia would retain 5% of the film's net profits. So Columbia still got 5% of the profits of the film. Yes. Veitch later recalled that, I think in 1982 we made more on that picture than we did any of our other films.
Wow.
So that 5% from the
Yes.
from the profit of E.T. was more than any other film they made that year.
Wow.
So yeah.
See, that's why,
yeah.
this is why capitalism doesn't work, because, it's supposed to reward you for making the right decision, but if you're just part of a big corporation, you can just make all the mistakes and somehow you still walk away with millions of dollars.
Too big to fail, Michael.
Exactly.
Too big to fail. You just get to a certain size and you literally cannot be failed unless you, I don't know, just fuck up to an unimaginable
Unless you
length.
try. Or, alternatively, unless you are Sony and you decide to make a movie about emojis.
Yeah, yes. Yeah, I mean, Sony, yes. Of course, Morbius, the emoji movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they don't produce good movies, really, Sony. But anyway, so let's get into the actual plot. So that's how it got produced. And of course, it's about Spielberg. He took inspiration from his childhood and made that into this movie, which, of course, he is going to be... The thing is, we're reviewing this now, but it would make sense, kind of, because we're reviewing another Spielberg movie later in the year.
Yes.
Which, of course, who could forget, is Catch Me If You Can. Which is about it's Tom Hanks, Leo DiCaprio.
Yes.
DiCaprio's trying to get away from Hanks, and we are reviewing it later in the year because of the release of, I think it's called, what's Spielberg's new movie that he's releasing about his childhood? It's specifically about his childhood. Is it called Fableman or something? I can't remember.
I'll find out.
He's releasing the movie later in the year, and it makes sense, I guess, to pair up E.T. with that, because this is drawn from Spielberg's childhood, and of course, Catch Me If You Can is based on a true story. But we're not doing it that way. We're doing it because I guess this is very close to the 40-year anniversary. So, whatever, Michael. And Catch Me If You Can was released in December, which is near the time his new movie's coming out. So, it's we make the best of what we can, really. Yes, and we get a lot of movie magic moments about this little kid helping this alien, shielding him from the government. It's a beautiful emotional story. That's the thing. The story is really good. It's a great story. It hits all the right beats. It's just like the bits in between the beats aren't so good. That's the best way to put it, I guess. But let's get into the script, Michael. You ready?
Yes.
Anything else to say on the plot?
Yes. I wanted to say something about the plot, which is that I think that the fact that this film was made for kids has an advantage, which is that E.T. is very cute. And I feel like that's something which really adds to this film. I mean, because nowadays we all know about the Minions and how And like how you like, oh, you put something cute in your film, or like the porgs, and everyone goes, oh, look, it's a cute thing, and it gets that part of your brain that tells you to like cute things. And I feel like E.T. had that going on with his little like when he would go like, ouch, and it was like with the Halloween thing, and he like thought the axe was real, he'd go like, ouch, ouch. He's so cute. He's like a tiny little cute little waddling, like the way he waddles, like a tiny little bless him. And yeah, I feel like that was a good idea, and it works because, like you say, it's like kind of, you know, like, oh, it's for kids and by the mind of a kid, and that's why it's so adorable.
Yeah, I mean, again, we're going to get into the alien design later, but yeah, I guess the fact that you've commented on the design of the alien, you're right, that is pretty crucial. That is crucial because, of course, the plot would not work if the alien wasn't cute.
Yeah.
Because it has to be designed by a kid. Almost.
I was just imagining if it was like a horrible, like in like a modern context, it was like a horrible CGI Mike Wazowski. I don't know, like he just was like, hey, let me. I don't know what he'd say.
Yeah, the thing is, it does look quite ugly, but at the same time, it's cute. It's the alien design is great again, which we'll get onto later. But so yeah, alien. So let's get into the script, Michael. So alien botanists visits Earth at night to gather specimens in the California forest. While the alien separates from the group, fascinated by the distant city lights. I like that touch. It's like he gets lost because he's like, wow, what an amazing world. Like he wants to know more. He wants to understand, this world. He's a scientist himself, I guess. He's something of a scientist myself. The Norman Osborn meme, Michael.
Yes, yeah, I got you. Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Can you imagine doing an impression of E.T. saying that?
I'm something of a scientist myself.
There we go. Beautiful. That's podcasting heritage right there. But so the US government vehicles arrive and chase the startled creature. And obviously the other aliens depart, abandoning the creature on Earth. In the San Fernando Valley, 10-year-old Elliot Taylor's suspicions are aroused. Oh my god, his last name's Taylor, E.T.
Oh my lord. It's just, I mean,
they're not,
how deep does it go? Yeah.
They're not, yeah. Again, like, I didn't, because they never say his surname, do they?
No, they don't.
Yeah. So yeah, it says it here on Wikipedia. So obviously he finds E.T., the ball is thrown back, it's baseball. Then he returns with a flashlight and discovers the creature among the cornstalks. I like that touch. He's among the cornstalks like other aliens. The crop circles.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff. And yeah, he shrieks and flees the scene. That's a really good start. I think. Sets the stage well. I love the scene where the flashlight is shown on E.T. and he just like screams. I like that.
Yeah,
that's fun. Yeah. So. Of course, Michael, then, we discover about Elliot's, life, because that's very important as to why he has this connection to E.T., because he seems pretty lonely, doesn't have a lot of friends. But most importantly, his parents have got divorced.
Yes.
His dad is in Mexico with another woman.
Emily?
And, I don't even know. So well done if you got that.
Probably didn't.
I can't remember. But yeah. So of course this movie is about divorce, and one thing kids of divorce love to go on about is divorce.
That is true, yeah.
That is great. So shout out to anyone who has not been divorced for, or has had their parents not divorced, because it is very annoying that people who have divorced parents insist on making like art about it.
Yeah, and also, in the UK we finally now have a no-fault divorce law. So people can stop giving "So My Kid Makes a Film" a nice coming-of-age film as a reason to get divorced.
Okay, yes. So Gary Arnold of the Washington Post called it essentially a spiritual autobiography, a portrait of the filmmaker as a typical suburban kid set apart by an uncommonly reverent mystical imagination. So there you go. Yeah, this kid who's lonely, he's in the suburbs like Spielberg was. Parents have been divorced, and this is... his imagination created something like Elliot, of course, in the movie E.T. actually exists. References to Spielberg's childhood occur throughout the movie. Elliot fakes illnesses by holding a thermometer to the bulb in his lamp while covering his face with a heating pad, a trick frequently employed by the young Spielberg. Was it just him? I feel like that's a pretty...
I used to... So I actually used to have hold a thermometer against like a hot drink. Like I'd pour a hot drink and I'd hold the thermometer against that if I wanted to fake being ill.
That's all of that good stuff. Yeah. Michael picking on Elliot echoes Spielberg's teasing of his younger sisters, and Michael's evolution from tormentor to protector reflects how Spielberg had to take care of his sisters after their father left. So yeah, that's interesting. Obviously, Elliot is meant to be, who Spielberg sees himself in, but he also sees himself as Michael as well. yeah, Michael is very. It's interesting because he's like very much the older brother who's like, bullies the younger brother. But then throughout the movie, he basically becomes Elliot's like, yeah, protector. That's the best word for it.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting evolution. That's interesting to see. And again, it's taken from Spielberg's experiences. It really is like his movie, and so much so. So the critics have focused on the parallel between E.T.'s life and Elliot's, who is alienated by the loss of his father. Did you get that, Michael?
Whoa. Yeah, that makes sense.
And what is E.T.?
He is... well, I know this is not considered politically correct. He's an undocumented interstellar traveller. You can't say he's an alien anymore.
An illegal.
Yeah, he's illegal.
She's illegal. So A.O. Scott of the New York Times wrote that while E.T. is the more obvious and desperate founding, Elliot suffers in his own way from want of home. E.T. is, of course, the first and last letter of Elliot's name, and at the film's heart is the theme of growing up. Critic Henry Sheehan described the film as a retelling of Peter Pan from the perspective of the lost boy, which, of course, Elliot. E.T. cannot survive physically on Earth as Pan could not survive emotionally in Neverland. Government scientists take the place of Netherlands pirates. Furthering the parallels, there is a scene in the film where Mary reads Peter Pan's Gertie. Vincent Canby of the New York Times, yes, observed that in the film, freely recycles elements from Peter Pan and the Wizard of Oz. So yeah, I think that is, of course, very interesting. And I guess, yeah, you now think about it, oh yeah, it makes sense. Like, he is in this magical world with E.T. and, he's then at the end, he has to, he's growing up. He has to, like, E.T., E.T., I guess, could be a metaphor for his, childhood,
And what film did Steven Spielberg make in 1991?
Schindler's List.
Correctamundo. Hook.
Yeah.
Which is about Peter Pan after he growed up.
After he'd grown up, yes. But Schindler's List was, of course, 1993.
Yeah, same year as Jurassic Park. Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. Yeah. But anyway, again, it's it can be compared to Peter Pan. It's about growing up. Losing your father. Moving on from your childhood. All of this stuff, can be found in this movie. And some critics suggested that Spielberg's portrayal of suburbia is very dark. And A.O. Scott said the suburban milieu, with its unsupervised children and unhappy parents, its broken toys and brand name junk food, could have come out of a Raymond Carver story. Charles Taylor from Salon.com wrote, Spielberg's movies, despite the way they're often characterized, are not Hollywood idealizations of families and the suburbs. And yeah, I can see that. Like, it's not pleasant at all, his life. Like, it's very clearly shown that he's not in a happy place. And, neither is his mother. And, being in the suburbs is part of it. And I guess you take Spielberg's own childhood, that's probably how he felt as well.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Is that all you got to say?
I agree that it's a good analysis of the, because it feels like this film, and I suppose in some sense you could say that this might also explain the, like, lack of quality in some areas of the film. Like, this film came from, like, a real place, like, emotionally, and maybe that's why the kind of, like, actual structure of it and flow of it as a narrative became, like, a second thought.
Yeah.
Which obviously is not an excuse.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I guess Spielberg was so... Maybe, we don't know, but he was maybe focused on getting in scenes which really reminded him of his childhood in one way or another. I don't know. But this clearly it's an incredibly personal movie for him. But I guess that makes sense. Like, with the highest grossing movies, that kind of changed with fucking Avengers.
Yeah.
But yeah, like George Lucas came from, his vision with Star Wars. Same with Spielberg, with his vision. With the E.T., it's like, these directors, they're very personal ideas.
James Cameron, Titanic, he loved it. It was his passion.
That is true, yeah. There's another good example, yeah. They put their heart and soul into it, and it comes out like becomes a classic. So obviously they start communicating with E.T. Well, Elliot does, and that's a really beautiful scene. Yeah, it's always a good scene when the alien communicates with the human. I find that, and it's really nice. It's a reminder, which we'll get into later, with the theme with understanding and tolerance, from people from different planets and creatures from different worlds and all of that stuff. But yeah, so we've got to get into the alien plagiarism now, Michael.
Oh no.
There were allegations that the film was plagiarized from The Alien, a 1967 script by Indian director Satyajit Ray, who stated, "E.T. would not have been possible without my script." Well, he's Indian. I don't know why you're laughing.
I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for accurately representing how he would talk.
E.T. would not have been possible without my script of The Alien being available throughout the United States in mimeographed copies. Spielberg denied this, stating, "I was a kid in high school." Of course, we do a normal accent for Spielberg because he's
he's from northwest England.
Yes, "I was a kid in high school when his script was circulating in Hollywood." Spielberg's friend Martin Scorsese also alleged the film was influenced by Ray's script, and Star Week magazine disputed Spielberg's claim, pointing out he had graduated from high school in '65 and began his career as a director in '69. The Times of India noted that E.T. and Close Encounters of the Third Kind had remarkable parallels with The Alien, including the physical nature of the alien, in a screenplay which Ray wrote entirely in English, so it's not like, it was in Hindi or whatever.
Yeah.
No, it was in English. He described the alien as a cross between a gnome and a famished refugee child. Large head, spindly limbs, a lean torso. Is it male, female, or neuter? We don't know. Spielberg solved that by having Gertie ask, "Is it a male?"
Yeah.
Elliot saying yes. So obviously, it's you can't say they didn't know the gender because they literally said it. So I don't think that's why. I mean, maybe that was it. I'm not sure, but it depends on whether you believe Spielberg.
Yeah, we need a YMS on this. We've already given them a shout out. He needs to explain whether or not this plagiarism is legit.
Yes, when it forms basically conveys. What its form basically conveys is a kind of ethereal innocence, and it is difficult to associate either great evil or great power with it. Yet a feeling of eeriness is there because of the resemblance to a sickly human child. So this was less like that, I'd say, like a sickly human child, because then it would have been a bit too creepy. It's very alien-esque, like it doesn't look human at all, really. But anyway, Ray first found out about E.T. from his friend, the British science fiction writer Arthur C. Clarke, who was familiar with the alien and believed it was plagiarized by E.T. Clarke called Ray and encouraged him to take legal action against E.T. No such legal action was taken, as Ray did not want to show himself as being vindictive against Spielberg, and acknowledged that he has made good films and he is a good director.
Good.
So that's good from Ray, right? Look, I think he would maybe have a right to sue Spielberg for plagiarism, but he was like, "No, it's a good movie." And again, you learn, from Spielberg's past what he did. Maybe he just invented all that to stave off the plagiarism charges.
Yeah.
His parents never actually got involved.
Yeah, he made it all up.
Yeah, but yeah. So does that change your opinion of Spielberg, Michael?
No, not really. I mean, first of all, it's kind of hard to tell whether or not nowadays I don't trust these things quite as much. But I would say it's still fine.
It's still fine.
Yeah,
no issues.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah. He has my permission to steal this man's work.
Well, do you think it was stolen?
I
mean, we can never know, really.
No, yeah, that's true. I mean, it seems like. I guess the thing is, like, when you break it down, you could say, well, if you come up with the idea of a kid befriending an alien, which isn't that crazy of an idea, it would probably make sense to have the alien be small so it isn't threatening. And
that's a good point.
And also, like, large heads. As anybody who knows anything about babies knows, humans are naturally find large heads cute because babies have disproportionately large heads. So yeah, it's possible he just he said, "Oh, large head, that's cute." So there we go. There's my explanation.
Yes. Okay, no, that's a good explanation. It is, yeah. So we of course, mainly in this movie, it's because I have watched Stranger Things season 1. Have you?
I haven't watched Stranger Things at all. Full stop. But you can probably.
Why not?
You know what? I have this thing where I often prefer to wait until a TV show has finished its run, because then I'm like, I don't have to wait
so
for
firstly, the thing with Stranger Things finishing its run, like season 1 is its own complete thing. Like it has nowhere to go really after season 1.
Okay.
Which is why.
Thank you for this information. In that case, perhaps I will watch Stranger Things.
Which is, of course, Stranger Things season 4 is releasing this weekend, coincidentally.
Yes, and I had heard that.
I just have absolutely I haven't watched season 2 or 3. I have absolutely no desire to watch it because everything was wrapped up in a neat little package. That's why it was such a massive success, because
it was more like a mini series, but it was like a mini series in spirit. But then they just added on a load of other episodes.
Yeah, essentially, yeah, they made it into a TV series when it doesn't need to be the case. I'm sure if people like it, they like it. Who cares? I just don't. I mean, they wrapped it up, and that's fine. They can do that. The thing is, I remember someone saying, and I think I thought this when it ended, like it's the perfect TV series. Like there's not like a moment wasted. Like everything is laid out absolutely perfectly, and it all concludes really well. And it keeps, there's twists and turns at exactly the right moments. It's just perfectly written TV. The season 1 of Stranger Things. And yeah, by the way, I don't think you even knew Stranger Things 4 was coming out, did you, Michael?
No, I didn't know it was the fourth one, but I did know there was another season coming out, actually.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's but my point was with Stranger Things season 1.
Here's the thing. Sorry, I just found out. It will the next season, the 5th season. So not the 4th, but the season after this one coming out will be the final season. So there you go. Although, yeah, from what you're saying, yeah, maybe I will just watch season 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I've done. I started watching season 2, and I'm like, I just don't care about this that much anymore because they solved it. It's such great TV season 1. It really is. But yeah, it was too good if anything. But the thing is, with Stranger Things, you have that kid Finn Wolfhard,
yes,
and his friends. It's about him and his friends, and they're all going around, solving these mysteries in this small town in Indiana. This here in this movie, it's not with his friends, Elliot. That's the thing. He doesn't have friends he can rely on. It's just his family, and therefore but that's the thing. It makes sense because if you're doing a movie about how a kid is isolated, about how he needs ET because ET is his friend, then he shouldn't really have any friends because then ET wouldn't mean as much to him. So that makes sense that he's not with his friends, that he shows his family, and yeah, he doesn't really have anyone at school who he cares about. But yeah, it is. I do want to talk about this movie is basically the essence of childhood imagination, I guess, and that's what Spielberg does so well. Like a child's imagination, like the concepts they can come up with, then he puts them into these movies, and he keeps that with him. And yeah, you have that trope of only the kids knowing stuff,
yeah,
and like the adults not knowing what's going on, and just dismissing the kids, hiding stuff from parents as well. And yeah, it's like that is what I guess if you're talking about childhood, like that is the magic of childhood is in this movie, which is just basically you're imagining stuff which adults around you just can't comprehend. You're doing stuff which the adults just they don't have any knowledge of what you're doing. You're kind of in your own little world, just enjoying yourself. And yeah, like that is I guess this movie for a lot of it. It's just the mother doesn't of course know about ET. And yeah, so what do you think of that, Michael?
I agree. I feel like that's something this film really does have going for it. And yeah, it kind of it feels like a just a film about like a very very much a Lemon of Troy kind of thing. Like a bunch of kids going off on an adventure. That's the Simpsons episode where they go to Shelbyville. So go get that lemon tree back.
Can you do some analysis without referencing The Simpsons?
No, I cannot. No, yeah, but I agree with you. It kind of like that. It's not just like a kid just in the situation. It's like a very kind of a situation that's perfect for a kid to be dealing with.
Yeah, exactly. And adults would of course react differently to ET. And not help ET get back to his home planet. The audacity of the kid to steal the alien from the government. That's steal him doesn't makes it sound, rescue him rather. But yeah, so as a substantial body of criticism has built up around the film, numerous writers have analysed it in other ways as well, interpreting it as a modern fairy tale. And I think that's fair. It certainly is. Yeah, it's a modern fairy tale.
Yeah, I can see that definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just it's a magical movie for kids, I guess, and therefore that qualifies as a fairy tale. So he's a magical being, Michael. That's the thing. He's not just an alien, and he can do the telekinesis. He can connect with Elliot as well. He is. Yeah, that's the thing. He's like, again, this goes to it being a fairy tale, and a child. If they were creating an alien in their head, they wouldn't just make him like boring. He's magical. He can do all this kind of cool stuff like telekinesis. What do you think about that? Yeah,
no, I think that like that's kind of the fun thing about him. Like it's not just that he's an alien, it's that he's magic, and that adds to the magic of the scenario.
Magic on top of magic.
Yeah, and I mean also, it kind of, I guess you could say, makes it like it would almost be impossible for the kids if like E.T. was just like some chubby little waddler who just waddles around, and they like have to just like basically just carry him through the whole film. I feel like the fact that E.T. helps them means it's a bit more kind of give and take, which I think makes it, I feel like the film would be more frustrating if it was just like E.T. was completely incompetent and just like waddled around everywhere and just like didn't know what he was doing and just destroyed everything, which he's kind of doing a lot more in like the beginning. But yeah, once you kind of introduce this magical element, it's like, okay, no, now he's like bringing something to the dynamic. And I have always said that, like I'm fine with people coming here as long as they've got something to contribute and as long as they love this country.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, no, you are right. Yeah, it makes sense that he is, of course, magical. And, he can learn English, quite well. I don't know how realistic that would be, but whatever. He's this alien who's like he's got these godly powers. Of course, he says that line, E.T. phone home, Michael.
Yeah, except it's kind of weird because at first he says E.T. home phone.
Yeah, I know. I was thinking that, then E.T. phone home, an iconic line. That I think even if you've never seen E.T., you know that line. And yeah, do you have anything else to say about his powers?
No, they're pretty. I mean, the thing is that the powers are kind of, I guess, underdeveloped. They're just like it's like generic magic, which is fine.
I wouldn't say they're underdeveloped because that's the point. It's like, oh wow, where do these powers come from? It's this mysterious being who can do this stuff.
I guess I'm just contrasting it to like, so it's like there aren't like rules associated with the powers, which obviously in other media can kind of be annoying. Like, so in something's just like, oh wait, it can just do anything. It's like kind of like magic in Harry Potter. It gets a little bit ridiculous sometimes. It's just like, oh, you could just do that now. But here it works.
The thing is, it doesn't really work as much in Harry Potter as in this. Because Harry Potter, it's like there's a lot of bullshit regarding rules and stuff in that world. But yeah, of course, none in this because children don't care about rules, Michael. So they don't like rules. So yeah, who cares? Let him levitate and bikes in the air, not just 5 bikes. So he's got these Jesus-esque powers, Michael, as well. Would you say that would be
healing people? Yeah.
So critics have found religious parallels between E.T. and Jesus. Andrew Nigel described E.T.'s story as crucifixion by military science and resurrection by love and faith. According to Spielberg biographer Joseph McBride, Universal Pictures appealed directly to the Christian market with a poster reminiscent of Michelangelo's The Creation of Adam, more specifically the finger.
The finger coming out.
Yes, and a logo reading peace. Spielberg answered that he did not intend the film to be a religious parable, joking, "If I went to my mother and said, 'Mom, I've made this movie that's a Christian parable,' what do you think she'd say? She has a kosher restaurant in Pico and Donnie in LA." But to be fair, Don Simpson did say Spielberg was the most white bread Jew he's ever seen or something.
Oh, really? Yeah, so he must have been an evangelical
Simpson.
Christian deep down.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so the Jews don't like Jesus, Michael. That's rule number 1.
Yes.
So there's no way this is a parallel to Jesus, right?
No, yeah. There's just, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't think, I mean, I guess the problem is like, Jesus is, well, I mean, the thing is it's one of those things where I think the kind of coincidences are as it happens, let's say similarities are coincidental. Because it's kind of like, the ability to heal, like all the things, it's just like, oh yeah, that's just stuff you could see in any kind of narrative. Like,
indeed.
I mean, Rey can heal people in The Rise of Skywalker.
I thought you said Reagan then.
Reagan could heal people with AIDS, but chose not to. Yes.
So Empire magazine called Elliot and E.T.'s Flight to the Forest the most magical moment in cinema history. Guess we're on that now. Would you think that's the case, Michael? The most magical moment in cinema history? Because, of course, it is. The thing is, I don't think the build-up is that good. It's kind of the build-up. Elliot should see like there's a ravine or something and be very scared about it, and it just feels like it does come out. Kind of come out of nowhere.
It took me a while to realize they were even off the ground. Like, obviously, I knew the scene. I knew, and like I kind of.
Well, that's just on you.
Well, I don't know. Like, well, the thing is, like, it was like. They like eventually I realized obviously when they were in front of the moon, but I was like, oh wait, they're already off the ground. So yeah, it probably is just me. I want to ask you a very important question, a question I think will define you as a person. I noticed when the bicycle was flying, Elliot was still pedaling, and I was thinking, do you think if you were on a flying bicycle, you would keep pedaling. Because obviously there's got to be a part of you that's thinking, is me pedaling actually doing anything? Like, if this bicycle's flying, presumably it's no longer working within its standard kind of mechanical function.
No, I think I would keep on pedaling.
Yeah, because I guess like you'd worry if you stopped pedaling, you would just fall and die.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, well, I'm pedaling because of course as you get off the ground, you're still pedaling. So if you're like, bro, I don't want to fuck this up, so I gotta keep pedaling.
Although actually, you know what, this could have been a nitpick, because now I think about it, I feel like if he was pedaling, then presumably because there would literally be no friction, he should have been pedaling like way faster. Like, it doesn't really make, because like obviously the reason why you pedal at a given speed is because of like the friction of, and you know, like it's actually effort. But if the wheel suspended in the air,
he was pedaling really fast.
I don't think he was pedaling that fast, though, because you can see him do
anyway, who cares, Michael? That's what the nitpick section is for.
I know.
So you haven't put it there, so you can't talk about it anymore. But yes,
yeah.
So well, anyway, I was just going to say the scene is a tribute to the 1951 Vittorio De Sica film Miracle in Milan. Oh, wonder what country that's set in. One of Spielberg's favorite films. And I think you could build up better, because when it was happening, I was like, oh, this is the famous iconic shot. Okay, this is it. Wow, that happened rather quickly. There was very little build up. But yeah, I think
I just remembered how you said like it should be a ravine. Sorry, I said it weird. In Mac and Me, the iconic scene is when he's in the wheelchair. They should have just had that scene.
Oh God, yes. Do you think it's the most magical moment in cinema history, or is it that scene from Mac and Me?
Well, yeah. I mean, so I feel like once it gets going, it definitely is like really up there. I mean, obviously with like the kind of...
It's an iconic shot.
Yes.
I will say the shot is maybe the most iconic in movie history. Maybe that is the case, because there's no way you could look at that and not know what movie that's from. I refuse to believe it, And I guess there are other movies where you could, like, if you see a picture of Darth Vader, oh, that's from Star Wars. But you know what I mean? Like a shot like that, which is not just a shot of just like a character, Like it's an abstract shot in some ways. But yeah, it is again. Spielberg has such a great mind, man. Like he can construct that moment, and again, like I said, the build-up wasn't good, but actually the moment with the music swelling and like, he's rising and it goes past the moon. Wow, yeah, maybe it is the most magical moment. Spielberg has that movie magic. He has that movie magic, and that maybe is peak Spielberg. That moment.
Yeah,
it really is. So, Mary discovers her son's illness, and E.T., who is of course dying. Just as a group of government agents dressed in biohazard suits invade the house, scientists set up a lab at the house, asking Michael, Mary, and Gertie what they knew about E.T. And of course, while they're treating Elliot and E.T., the mental connection between them disappears. Did you not want to talk about that? The connection between Elliot and E.T.?
Yes, I did. Mostly because I liked when they were doing it in kind of a comedic way at the beginning. Like, I thought it's an example of where, like, I was like, it felt like the film was doing something, but it just didn't really kind of like I'm talking about the whole thing of like E.T. drinks some beer and then Elliot's like drunk, and like it's kind of weird because like that isolated scene is good, like it's funny, it's entertaining, it's like, oh, look at what they're doing, but then it's kind of like it also feels like, I guess within the context of the whole film it feels a bit like filler. But yeah, so I guess what I'm saying is in isolation I liked it, but within the wider context of the film I feel like maybe they could have done something more with it, and it almost does feel, I don't want to say it feels really unnecessary, but yeah, I guess it does.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't, like, it's a fun scene and all, but it doesn't really have anything to do with the plot. I mean, I guess it shows like E.T. is sacrificing himself to heal Elliot, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, it's not really that necessary, because it doesn't really have a function. You suspect with it like a telepathic connection, it would have some other function than just this alien is sacrificing himself. But yeah, that's it really. And I guess you get some fun scenes, but that's what I'm talking about with the filler. There's like just that middle. I mean, I can't really be specific about it because that's the thing with filler. It's like hard to be specific, but there's just a lot of stuff in the middle of that movie where it's like just you can make this shorter, you can make this swifter, and you can execute it better. But yeah, that's part of it. But yeah, so while they're treating Elliot and E.T., of course, the mental connection disappears. E.T. appears to die while Elliot recovers, and this is when the scene you see how evil the government is, because when they approach E.T., or approach the house, and to get E.T., you see, them coming over the hill, and it's like the sun is setting. I think.
Yeah.
The time of day in this is very bullshit, and that's a nitpick. It goes from like the middle of the afternoon to night so quickly in this Californian town. But yeah, the contrast that with how Elliot and his siblings treat E.T. There is an attempt at tolerance and understanding, wouldn't you say, Michael?
Yeah.
And that really is the main theme of the movie, I'd say, is, again, something that is the case in all of Spielberg's work, understanding and, all the, what can be dangerous and scary, maybe not is so dangerous and scary, like the Nazis in Schindler's List, for instance.
Yeah.
If you just understand them better, then the Jews and the Nazis could have got along, No, I kid on that one. I just thought of that movie and I was like, oh yeah, I guess Schindler does understand the Jews, so that theme is still present in that movie. But yeah, it is, when you say that's central to this movie, Michael, not doing what the government does, just racing in and, trying to do experiments on them, to be fair, they're not experimenting on him, they're trying to save him.
It is interesting because it's kind of like, what I'd forgotten is how, like, like the government, like on a second watch, having mostly watched this, we watched this when I was like young, it's surprising how not evil the government is, because while yes they are evil, it's mostly like it is a bit weird because it's like they're definitely very callous.
Evil.
Yeah, they're presented as evil, like through kind of cinematic language.
Their actions aren't there. So yeah, I guess you're kind of going like, my point was, how this movie, the heroes, are focusing on understanding. And,
that's what I was going to say. Yeah. So basically, because like I think the government is kind of callous and it's just like very surgical or whatever. But it's also a bit weird because you randomly have this guy who like has this whole thing about how like when he was 10 years old, he wanted to have he was like, oh, I wanted, I dreamed of there being aliens when I was 10 years old, and it's like, so he clearly does have some kind of like it's implied that this is a passion thing for him. Yeah, but it's
maybe he's the good cop.
Yeah, but it's weird because it's kind of like it's I don't know. Yeah, like it's hard to. Well, yeah, I would agree with you that definitely it's undeniable that the government is way more kind of like clinical about it, and like they don't have like a love aspect to it.
I tried to. Well, you'll just keep going back to the government, so we'll talk about the government then, if that's what you want to go on to. I was trying to talk about the understanding that the tolerance being a theme of the movie, but we'll go to the government.
I hate tolerance.
So yeah, this movie is anti-government, and you could say actually when they get E.T., they're just kind of saving him, and you could say this character who's like, oh yeah, I dreamed of aliens when I was 10 years old. That character doesn't need to be in there. There could be more, talks like fucking Elliot could overhear someone saying, oh yeah, we're getting him back to this facility to experiment on him, to dissect him, all of that stuff. And I guess the lack of frogs, E.T. trying to free the frogs that were being dissected is clearly, a message about, oh yeah, he doesn't want that to happen to him. Basically, at the start of the movie, of course, when they're looking for E.T., there's a lot of shots of the handcuffs, on the people sneaking around E.T. Yes, but I do wish they'd been harsher on Elliot and E.T. to really hammer that home. Because, for example, like Elliot is just basically allowed to like walk around this facility.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like they're just like the government just isn't that much of a threat, which is very weird because they're like set up like at the beginning as like, oh look, they're really, really scary. Look at the government, they're walking around, they're inspecting them, and like you think that they're gonna just come along and just be like really not nice.
They're presented as a threat.
Yeah, but then once they show up,
at the end they are as well.
Yeah, like that's the thing. But even then, it's kind of like, I mean, they're like, oh, it's sad he's dead, and like the thing is, like Elliot's motivation is obviously just to
get E.T. home.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say like, well, at one point, sorry, not obviously once he realizes he's alive, but initially like, they think E.T. is dead. And then obviously it turns out he's actually alive. The kind of weird thing is though that like there's not really any point where the government like seems to like it's not really clear how the government wants to react to the fact that E.T. is alive, because it's kind of like the last thing you kind of get an idea of what they want to do is that they think E.T. is dead, so they want to freeze him so they can do an autopsy, which obviously again is certainly like clinical and like, lacking that kind of like compassionate aspect where it's like, oh, let's just freeze him so we can cut him
Yeah,
up.
but they think he's dead.
Yeah. And
that's
then
why,
it's kind of
that's
like,
why I said before there should be a line about we get him back to this facility to experiment on him. There should be, and Elliot overhears that somehow.
yeah, because as it is, it's kind of like from their perspective, I feel like they're almost like just confused, because it's like, as far as they're concerned, ET's dead, and then I guess they realize he's alive, but like it's almost like they're not really like, once it's revealed ET has been like resurrected, basically it's not really clear what the government's goal is, because
that's why I said that him dissecting the frogs was alluding to that. Perhaps he doesn't want that to happen, so that's probably what he was worried about happening, and therefore the movie, you can interpret the movie as saying he should be worried about that happening, because that's what they're going to do. Of course, they're presented throughout as like this nefarious organization, and that is definitely the case when they burst through the doors in the house. I mean, that's the thing, like you talk about who the alienating force in the movie is, it's the US government, when they're actually bursting through the house that Elliot and his mum are in, and it's what a nightmare alien invasion would look like. Like Wikipedia used the word like they invade the house. These government scientists in biohazard things, like, oh, that's what aliens would do, right? They would invade you, but no, it's the US government which is doing that. And it's the humans, and that's a good contrast. Like it's very. I think Spielberg specifically did that. Those spacemen, I say spacemen, they look like spacemen. They look like, they don't look human. They don't act like human because you can't see them. He made them these humans, we know they're humans. He made them deliberately not seem human to kind of reinforce that point. It's like, oh no, don't. It's the US government who are the ones who you gotta worry about invading your home, and not from like a bullshit libertarian perspective. I hope that's not the case, and I don't think it is. It's just like, oh yeah, these people. If they have authority, they don't really have to answer to people who are lower down the system. And I think what happened in Uvalde on fucking, what was it, Tuesday? I can't remember. In Texas.
Yeah, I don't remember.
What do you mean you don't remember?
Oh, sorry, I don't remember. I don't remember the specific day of the week. Yeah,
it's like, oh yeah, just people in authority just do not want to protect, do not care about protecting the average citizens. And yeah, that is the case here. And I remember there's in Stranger Things, again at the end of the season, so the dad in Stranger Things supports Reagan, or the dad of the main kid, because you see like a Reagan Bush election poster outside their house, because it's in autumn '84, because there's Halloween and everything. So yeah, that demonstrates who he is, and like there's government officials going around their house, and the dad is like, yeah, we'll tell you everything you need to know. We're always happy to help you.
Yeah,
they're very clear. Like, yes, this is a, and I think the Stranger Things were mirroring what happened in this movie, which is this is an authoritarian invasion of this home, which is not, again, a parable for communism. It is literally what the US government would do. And of course, the US government at that time was led by Ronald Reagan, who ironically he liked this movie Reagan apparently, which is funny. But yeah, they are not the good guys. They are not to be trusted. The authorities aren't here to help, which again I think is something that unfortunately you see in Uvalde in America is unfortunately a reality. Again, you contrast the US government to the main characters who have this understanding and compassion. Producer Kathleen Kennedy noted that an important theme of the film is tolerance, which would be central to future Spielberg films such as Schindler's List. Oh, there you go.
Yes, because we need to tolerate the Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. Having been a loner as a teenager, Spielberg described it as a minority story. Spielberg's characteristic theme of communication is partnered with the idea of mutual understanding. He has suggested that the story's central alien-human friendship is an analogy for how real-world adversaries can learn to overcome their differences. Yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that is definitely the case. Again, the scientists, well, I guess the US government in general, they don't want to learn from the alien. They want to capture the alien. That's the difference. They want to capture it. You contrast that with the main characters who want to understand it and are like, oh no, he's not a threat. He's basically becomes a friend. And Spielberg got a UN peace medal for this, by the way, or medal, sorry.
Really?
Yeah, for this movie.
That's adorable. More deserving than Obama, am I right, ladies?
Literally, yeah. And Princess Diana cried at the end of this movie, Michael. We know such a good person. What a good person she was. But yeah, again, the central message, compassion and understanding and tolerance, all of that stuff, is something that, yeah, of course, who could disagree with unless you supported Ronald Reagan?
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, again, movies which, if released nowadays, maybe would be considered woke, But back in the day, oh yeah, this is just like a very good movie which produces or advocates for values which should be, any normal person should that value, which is like tolerance, understanding, compassion, all that great stuff. Which of course is the same in Star Trek, Michael, another sci-fi.
Wow, these sci-fi people.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you. Like, obviously, it's tolerance. I mean, the thing is, you could say it's kind of like an obvious theme, as you kind of already hinted at, in that, like, it's just like tolerance. It's good. Like, it doesn't really have, I guess, like a nuanced exploration of the idea of tolerance. I mean, I kind of
it
like
is a child's movie.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah. So, but it's a good message. So it's kind of, I mean, you could say it's almost like more of a message than a theme, which probably,
Yeah. No, absolutely. So, E.T., of course, comes back to life. And, he went away from his, alien species, so he was losing life. Is that it, Michael?
Yeah.
He suddenly almost dies.
Yeah, it is a bit weird. Like, they don't really explain that, like, very well at all.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. And then he comes back to life. And that's not really explained. Was it love? Because fucking Elliot says, I love you, or whatever. And then was it love that brought the alien back? I don't know, that seems a bit too corny, but it would be Peak Spielberg, really, if that was the case. But maybe it's because, the alien's got his signal and somehow, I don't know, it's not explained very well. Well, yeah, it's just the best part, really, these last 15 minutes. Yeah, getting chased by the government, getting chased by the police while on bikes, pure Stranger Things stuff, Michael, that. And, of course, this came first, but I only say that because the 4th season, of course, is coming out this weekend, but yeah, that is, it's the best part of the movie. And I'd say the most iconic too. That is my, because there's so many iconic moments, but I think that is the most iconic. That's the part of the movie I like the most. What do you think?
I agree with you. Like, the film really picks up in the end. And yeah, specifically, all like the emotions of saying goodbye really works. And like, obviously, I mean, the other flying scene, of course, is also, everyone loves that too.
Yes. Yeah.
And when those people are caught in that little tube behind the van, no, yeah, like, that's the thing. It's kind of like it becomes way more exciting, and I feel like that's probably the thing people remember, and therefore they're like, oh, it was a good film, because like they're like, oh yeah, it's excitement in it.
Well, yeah, I guess if you want the best part of the movie, if you want people to remember it fondly, make the last part of the movie the best part.
Like how if you're on Come Dine With Me, you need to make sure the pudding is really nice.
Yeah, I guess so. So why did you make that reference?
Because I often think about that when I'm watching Come Dine With Me.
Great. So, yeah, and of course you have the metaphor of the kids being on bikes, and you have the natural freedom of the bike. The bikes can go anywhere. They can, fit into little gaps, like how children can go anywhere with their imagination. The grown-ups who are kind of stifled, they're boxed in with their cars, because they're, the adults, they can't go into certain places that the kids can. And the kids, of course, can even fly, because why not? You can do what you like. You're a kid. Your imagination will let that run wild, so that's a good metaphor. And yeah, and like you said, Michael, in the 20-year anniversary, the government don't have guns. Well, they do here, which I of course prefer, because hey, people should know that the government doesn't really care. Yes, they shoot a kid in the face to get the alien? They absolutely would.
That's true.
I mean, yeah,
they are that thin blue line between children being or not being shot.
Yes, indeed. So, at the end of the movie, standing near the spaceship, E.T.'s heart glows as he prepares to return home. And, of course, he says goodbye to everyone. And, before boarding the spaceship, he embraces Elliot. Oh, yeah, and the flower he received, he revives the flower. Is that a metaphor for, I don't know, the relationship between Michael and Elliot? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
It can be a metaphor for a bunch of things. But so he embraces Elliot and tells him, I'll be right here, pointing his glowing finger to Elliot's forehead.
Yeah, rather than his heart, which shows that E.T. clearly has too much of a scientific understanding of humans rather than a kind of more figurative, metaphorical understanding. Because then he would have pointed at the heart.
Yeah, but they already did like the ouch thing to the heart.
Yeah, that is kind of funny. So
you gotta go to the head next. The spaceship leaves a rainbow in the sky as it takes off. Super emotional.
Yes.
Incredibly emotional. And it just hits the beats so well. Spielberg is a master at doing this, and this is his, what's that word, Michael?
Magnum opus.
That is that in terms of like emotional movie moments. That is it. the scene at the end. And yeah, like he points to the forward, I'll be in your mind just like, other childhood memories that you may have forgotten. I'll always be there. And that's how maybe adults can relate to this movie, because they're like, oh yeah, like all those memories from my childhood, they're still with me. I can still reconnect with the childhood, which of course people, because of nostalgia, people often remember as a very happy time in their lives, less responsibilities and so on. And yeah, Derek Malcolm of The Guardian wrote, E.T. is a superlative piece of popular cinema, a dream of childhood brilliantly orchestrated to involve not only children, but anyone able to remember being one. Of course, I think most people can. So that's how it gets its universal appeal. Appeals to kids, but appeals to people who, oh, I remember, my childhood. Oh, I remember the good times I had. And yeah, that I'll be right there. That line really harks back to that. So yeah, again, it helps people connect emotionally to their childhood as adults, and it is such an uplifting movie for that. Appeals to the kids, obviously, naturally, and to everyone else. So yeah, just the perfect ending maybe in movie history, Michael. It really is, and that elevates the movie so much, and again is why it is remembered as such a classic. But yeah, let's conclude now. You go first.
Right. So this film, it has like individual moments that are good, and you could almost say that there's no singular moment of the film that's bad. But taking the film as a whole, it's kind of weird because it's not a short film by any means. Like you already said, it's kind of a long film, and yet you kind of think, wow, it seems like nothing really happened a lot of the time, and it's kind of weird how like I found it strange when it seemed like nothing was happening, and then suddenly it jumps to the bit where E.T.'s phoning home, which is kind of crazy because you would think like with like E.T. phone home being such a classic line that like getting him to be able to phone home would be a much bigger thing, but it's just like kind of he mentions it and then there's a little bit of filler and it's just like, oh yeah, he's just heading off and he's just going to be able to go to it super easily. It feels like they should have just brought it together a little bit better. Like I don't know, like there should have been. There's like so many just like when he like kisses that girl, and you think, oh, like is him being kind of like is there going to be like a little love interest thing going on? Not really. And honestly, like I don't know. Yeah, I just feel like for some reason the film just managed to not actually have that much in it, except for of course these key moments that, even in ignoring the rest of the context of the film, really stand out as great. And those moments still do have a lot of emotional resonance, which really does mean that you'll get to the end of the film and be like, oh, that makes me happy. And yeah, I think I'm gonna give it and my only thought is this might be generous, a middling 6. And that's mostly for the really good moments and the stuff like that. But I think there's a lot of lackingness in the actual film taken holistically.
Lackingness. Yes, lackingness. Yes. I've given this a 6 out of 10. The thing is, like I said, there's not really a bad moment. It just drags on a bit, and yeah, it only gets really good at the end. Like the first bit of the movie is fine, and then there's a long stretch where it's like, could be better here. And then everything comes together at the end really well. The ending is like 10 out of 10. The rest of the movie is like, I don't know, a 4, like for large stretches of it. But yeah, so I think the message, like we said, these are one of the things that could have been executed better. I do like the message, the US government often doesn't practice these, often it never does, these these values of tolerance and compassion, and you should do that. That's what you should do, and therefore the US government is the foe in this movie. And yeah, I think you have these incredible scenes, and the vibes in these scenes are top notch. And those are the ones that people remember. The emotional resonance is off the charts, especially at the end. But yeah, it's just a lot of it is very slow. And again, you'd have to go through all the scenes and pinpoint all of the scenes up until the end. It's like, oh, this is what they could have done better here. But anyway, Michael, what are we reviewing next week?
You know what, Luke? I was not at all prepared for that question.
Even though I ask you every week, I'll tell you by the way. So next week we are reviewing Jurassic World.
Oh, good. The second one, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Fallen Kingdom,
because of course Jurassic World Dominion, the third one, is releasing soon. So join us for that. Not a Spielberg movie, this one, obviously based off a Spielberg thing. But we have been selecting on E.T. the Extraterrestrial, a classic movie which I think doesn't hold up to the heights which the whole movie doesn't hold up to the heights which it is held at in, I think, modern culture. But still, the moments are really good, and sometimes that's that can be appreciated as well, even though, of course, we have to review the whole movie. But yeah, Michael, join us next week for Jurassic World 2 Fallen Kingdom. A movie that is very much the opposite of E.T. In dealing with monsters and so on. Who have you been, Michael?
I've been Michael.
I've been Luke. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.
Goodbye.